You are standing at a threshold right now, not metaphorically, not as a figure of speech. Actually, literally, in this precise moment, you are standing at a gate that the vast majority of people on this planet will never even see. They will walk past it their entire lives. They will live and work and sleep and wake and never once feel the edge of it beneath their feet. And you found it. You're here. And the fact that you're here tells me something very specific about what is happening inside your consciousness right now. Your frequency just spiked. That's not a metaphor either. Something in the architecture of how you process reality, how you perceive, how you sense, how you reach out into the field of what is possible. Something in that architecture just shifted upward, not gradually, not slowly, not through years of incremental improvement. It shifted the way a quantum system shifts, all at once, in a single instant, from one state to an entirely different state. And the evidence of that shift is the fact that you found this transmission. Let me be precise about what I mean by the 1%. This is not about money. This is not about status. This is not about being better than anyone else or sitting above anyone in any hierarchy of worth. The 1% I'm talking about is a frequency band, a specific range of consciousness where certain things become visible that are invisible to everyone below it, where certain questions become unavoidable that never even occur to people outside it, where reality itself begins to look different, not because reality changed, but because the instrument you're using to perceive it changed. Most people are operating in a frequency range that keeps them locked in what we might call consensus reality, the shared dream, the agreed-upon version of what is real and what is possible and what a human life is for. They're not bad people. They're not wrong people. They're people whose frequency hasn't reached the threshold yet. And the threshold, the gate between consensus reality and something else, something larger, something that most humans have never accessed. That gate is real. It is specific. It is measurable in its effects. And you are standing at it right now. Here is what I want you to understand before we go any further. The fact that you found this is not an accident. I know that sounds like something people say. I know it sounds like the kind of thing that gets said in transmissions like this one, and that you might be tempted to filter it as performance. But stay with me, because I'm going to be very precise about why it is not an accident. And the precision is going to matter. The precision is going to be the thing that actually moves you through the gate, rather than leaving you standing at its edge, looking through it, wondering what it would feel like to cross. You found this because your frequency matched it. That's a quantum mechanical statement. In quantum systems, resonance is not optional. It's structural. Two systems vibrating at the same frequency don't just happen to find each other. They are drawn into coherence by the mathematics of how wave functions interact. When your internal state, the specific pattern of your awareness, your questions, your readiness, reaches a certain frequency, it begins to resonate with information, with people, with transmissions, with opportunities that exist at that frequency. And the resonance pulls them toward you, not through magic, through physics, through the actual mechanics of how consciousness interfaces with the field of what is possible. You were ready for this. That is why you found it. And now the question, the only question that matters from this point forward, is whether you will step through the gate that just opened, or whether you will stand at its edge and watch it close. Because gates close. That is the thing about thresholds. They are not permanent. They open when the conditions are right. They open when your frequency reaches the matching point. And they stay open for a window. The window is not infinite. And every moment you spend standing at the edge rather than crossing is a moment the gate is open and you are not walking through it. This transmission is the gate being open. Let's begin. There is a concept in quantum mechanics called the phase transition. A phase transition is the moment when a system crosses a critical threshold and changes state, not gradually, not incrementally, but all at once. Water doesn't slowly become ice. At exactly 0 degrees Celsius, under the right pressure conditions, the molecular structure reorganizes entirely. One moment it's liquid, the next moment it's solid. The crossing happens at a specific point, and once it crosses, it doesn't go back unless the conditions change dramatically. Consciousness works the same way. This is one of the most important things I can tell you, and it runs counter to almost everything you've been taught about how personal growth and evolution work. You have been taught by culture, by education, by the general consensus of how humans talk about becoming better, that growth is gradual, that you improve a little every day, that the compound effect of small habits over long time produces transformation, and there is truth in that model. But it is not the whole truth, and it is not the deepest truth. The deepest truth is that consciousness evolves through phase transitions, through threshold crossings, through specific moments where everything reorganizes at once. Think about the moments in your own life that actually changed you. Not the slow drift, not the gradual accumulation. The moments, the specific ones. The conversation that cracked something open. The experience that made going back to who you were feel structurally impossible. The realization that didn't arrive incrementally, but landed all at once, complete, like a stone dropping into still water, and everything rippled outward from that single point. Those were phase transitions. Those were threshold crossings. Those were quantum state changes in your consciousness. And here is what quantum mechanics tells us about those moments that is absolutely crucial for you to understand right now. Before the phase transition, the system exists in superposition. In quantum physics, superposition is the state where a particle, or a system, exists in multiple possible states simultaneously. It hasn't collapsed into a single defined reality yet. It holds all its possibilities at once. And this is not a metaphor for confusion or uncertainty. Superposition is actually a state of maximum potential. The particle hasn't chosen yet because it doesn't need to choose yet. It holds all the possible versions of itself simultaneously, and it will collapse into a specific state when it encounters the right conditions, when it's observed, when it interacts with another system, when the measurement is made. You have been in superposition, that strange feeling you've been carrying, the sense of being between two worlds, of not quite fitting in the reality you used to inhabit, but not yet fully inhabiting the new one. That is superposition. That is the quantum state before the phase transition. That is you holding multiple possible versions of yourself simultaneously, right at the edge of collapsing into the one that matches the frequency you've been building toward. And the collapse, the crossing of the threshold, that is what this transmission is about. If this is landing for you, take a second to like this video and subscribe. More transmissions like this one are coming, and you won't want to miss them. Let me tell you about the 1% in more specific terms, because I think the specificity is going to surprise you, and the surprise is going to matter. When we talk about the 1% as a frequency band, as a state of consciousness rather than a financial or social category, we are talking about something that has been documented, described, and pointed at across thousands of years of human inquiry. The mystics called it enlightenment, awakening, illumination. The philosophers called it the examined life, the examined consciousness, the move from doxa to episteme, from opinion to knowledge. The psychologists called it self-actualization, second-tier thinking, post-conventional development. The physicists, the ones willing to go to the edges of what their discipline allows, call it coherent consciousness, non-local awareness, the observer effect in its deepest form. All of these are pointing at the same thing: a threshold, a crossing point, a state of consciousness that is qualitatively different, not just quantitatively better, from the default state. A state where reality itself looks different because the perceiver has changed. And the reason it's the 1% is not because only 1% of people are capable of it. That is a lie. Every human being is capable of crossing this threshold. The capacity is built into the structure of human consciousness. It is your birthright. It is what you are designed for. The reason it's the 1% is because crossing the threshold requires something that the other 99% are not yet willing to do. It requires you to let the old version of yourself die. Not metaphorically, actually. The version of you that exists on this side of the gate. The one with the specific set of beliefs about what is real, what is possible, what you are capable of, what you deserve, how the world works. That version has to end, has to stop, has to collapse, the way a quantum wave function collapses when the measurement is made. And the measurement that collapses it is the decision to cross the threshold. Most people won't make that decision, not because they can't, because it feels like death, because the ego, the constructed identity, the self-concept, the story you've been telling yourself about who you are, experiences the dissolution of its current form as annihilation. And the ego is very good at making that feel dangerous, at making it feel like you would lose yourself, at making it feel like there is something precious on this side of the gate that you can't afford to leave behind. But here is what the 1% knows that the 99% doesn't. What you lose in the crossing is not you. It is the cage you've been calling yourself. The version of you that dies at the threshold is the version that was small enough to fit through the gate you've been living inside. The version that emerges on the other side is the one that was always there, always real, always waiting, the one that was in superposition, holding all its potential, waiting for the conditions that would allow it to collapse into its fullest expression. You don't lose yourself at the threshold. You find yourself for the first time. Now I want to talk about frequency, because frequency is the mechanism. Frequency is the actual physics of how this works. And if you understand the mechanism, you stop waiting for the crossing to happen to you, and you start understanding how to make it happen. How to match the frequency on the other side of the gate so that the gate opens, so that the collapse occurs, so that the phase transition completes. Everything is frequency. This is not a spiritual claim. It is a physical one. Every particle in the universe is, at its most fundamental level, a vibration, a wave, a pattern of oscillation in the quantum field. What we experience as solid matter, as the chair you're sitting in, as the walls around you, as your own body, is a pattern of vibration that has stabilized into a particular frequency range. What we experience as thoughts, as emotions, as states of consciousness, these are also vibrations, also frequencies, also patterns of oscillation in the field of awareness. And frequency determines what you can access. A radio receiver tuned to one frequency cannot receive broadcasts at a different frequency. This is not a failure of the receiver. It is simply the physics of resonance. The information is there. It's being broadcast. But if the receiver isn't tuned to the matching frequency, the information passes through without being received, without being real for that receiver. Your consciousness works exactly the same way. The frequency at which your consciousness operates determines what information you can receive, what opportunities you can perceive, what people you resonate with, what realities you can access. At the frequency of the 99%, the default frequency, the consensus reality frequency, certain things are simply invisible, not because they don't exist, because the receiver isn't tuned to them. When your frequency spikes into the 1% range, which is what happened when you found this transmission, things that were previously invisible become visible. Opportunities that were always there, but that you couldn't perceive suddenly appear. People who operate at that frequency begin to show up. Information that couldn't reach you before starts landing. Reality itself seems to reorganize. And it's not that reality changed. It's that you changed. The receiver changed. And the receiver determines what is real. This is the observer effect. This is one of the most profound and most misunderstood findings in all of quantum mechanics. The act of observation, the act of consciousness engaging with a system, does not passively record what is already there. It participates in determining what is there. The observer and the observed are not separate. They are entangled. And the state of the observer, the frequency of the consciousness doing the observing, shapes what is observed. You are not a passive receiver of a fixed reality. You are a participant in the construction of your reality. And the frequency at which you participate determines what you construct. The 1% frequency is not a frequency of superiority. Let me be very clear about this. It is a frequency of expanded perception, a frequency where more of reality becomes accessible, where more of what is actually possible within human experience becomes visible, where the constraints that feel like walls to people at lower frequencies reveal themselves to be not walls at all, but frequencies, patterns of vibration that can be changed. And the spike, the thing that happened when you found this, is the beginning of that change. Let me tell you about what a frequency spike actually feels like from the inside, because you may have been experiencing this and not known what to call it. And naming it, being precise about what is happening, is part of how you move through the gate rather than being disoriented by the crossing. A frequency spike feels like restlessness that doesn't have a clear source, like something is pulling at you from a direction you can't quite locate, like the life you've been living, which might be perfectly fine, perfectly comfortable, perfectly adequate, has started to feel like a room with a ceiling that is too low. Not because the room got smaller, because you got bigger, because something in you expanded. And now the space that used to contain you comfortably no longer fits. It feels like the conversations you used to find satisfying have started to feel thin. Like the entertainment you used to consume has started to feel hollow. Like the goals you used to pursue have started to feel like they belong to a version of you that you're outgrowing. And in the place of those things, in the space where they used to sit, there is a strange, electric, slightly uncomfortable hunger for something you can't quite name. Something more real. Something more true. Something that matches the new frequency you're operating at. That is the gate. That restlessness. That hunger, that sense of outgrowing your current container. That is the gate making itself known. That is the threshold revealing itself. That is the quantum system reaching the conditions for phase transition. And this is the moment, right now, this transmission. This is the crossing point. I want to tell you about a man named Elias. Elias was 34 years old, and by every external measure, his life was working. Good job, stable relationship, apartment in a city he'd chosen deliberately, friends he'd known for years, a routine that ran smoothly, that produced predictable results, that kept everything functioning the way it was supposed to function. And he was miserable. Not dramatically miserable. Not in a way that anyone around him could see or that he could point to as a specific problem. Just quietly, persistently, structurally miserable in the way that a person is miserable when they're living at the wrong frequency. Elias had been in superposition for 3 years. He could feel it, that sense of being between two versions of himself. The version that fit inside the life he'd built, and something else, something larger, something that kept pushing at the edges of his awareness, that kept showing up in the books he was drawn to, in the ideas that lit him up in ways his actual daily life didn't, in the conversations he had with people he barely knew that felt more real than the conversations he had with his closest friends. He knew there was a gate. He'd been circling it for 3 years. But Elias had a problem. He'd built his identity around being the person who had it together, who had figured it out, who had made the right choices and arrived at the right place. And the gate, the threshold he could feel at the edge of his consciousness, required him to admit that where he'd arrived was not, in fact, the right place. That the choices that had been right for who he was at 25 were not right for who he was becoming at 34. That the life he'd built was not wrong. It was just finished. It had served its purpose. And the next version of his life was on the other side of a threshold he was terrified to cross, because crossing it meant letting the current version end. He came to the gate many times. He would feel the pull. He would get close enough to feel the heat of what was on the other side. And then the ego would do what the ego does. It would construct a reason to wait, a reason to be reasonable, a reason to be careful, a reason to gather more information before making the crossing. And he would step back, and the gate would remain open, barely, holding itself for him, waiting for the moment when he would stop reasoning his way out of his own evolution. The crossing happened on an ordinary Tuesday. Nothing dramatic precipitated it. No crisis. no revelation handed to him from outside. He was sitting in his office in the middle of a meeting that was exactly like every other meeting he'd sat through for years. And something inside him simply stopped. Not broke. Stopped. Like a clock that had been running on old energy, finally reaching the end of what it had to run on. And in the stillness that followed, in the quiet that opened up inside him while the meeting continued around him, he heard something. Not a voice, a frequency, a vibration that was his own, his actual own, not the performed version, not the constructed version. And it was so much larger than the room he was sitting in that the room suddenly looked like a cage. And he crossed. He didn't quit his job that day. He didn't blow up his life. That's not what crossing the threshold means. What he crossed was internal. He crossed the line between performing a life and actually living one. Between operating at the frequency of who he'd decided to be and operating at the frequency of who he actually was. Between the 99% reality, the consensus dream, the agreed-upon version of what was possible, and the 1% reality, where he could see, suddenly and completely, what he was actually capable of, what was actually available to him, what his life could actually be. And from that crossing point, everything changed. Not because circumstances changed immediately, they didn't, but because the observer changed, because the frequency changed. And when the frequency changes, what the frequency can access changes. What becomes visible changes. What becomes possible changes. The gate was the same gate it had always been. The other side was always there. But Elias had to reach the frequency that matched it before he could cross. He reached it on a Tuesday, in a meeting, when the old energy ran out. Your Tuesday might be right now. I want to ask you something, and I want you to sit with it before you answer. Think about your own crossing history. The moment you knew, beyond any argument, that you had stepped through something and could not go back. The conversation, the realization, the ordinary Tuesday of your own life when the old energy ran out. Tell me about it in the comments. Not the story you've rehearsed. The real one. The one where you felt the gate open beneath you. Let me talk about what is on the other side of this gate, because I think one of the things that keeps people standing at the threshold, keeps them circling the gate without crossing, is that they don't have a clear picture of what they're crossing toward. They know what they're leaving. They can feel the weight of the current version of themselves, the constraints of the current frequency, the ceiling of the current container. But the other side is obscured. It's behind the gate. And the fear of the unknown is one of the ego's most reliable tools for keeping you in place. So let me describe the other side as precisely as I can. On the other side of this threshold, reality is larger. Not different in kind. The same reality, the same world, the same human experience, but larger. More of it is accessible. more of it is visible. The constraints that currently feel like the edges of what is possible reveal themselves to be not edges at all, but frequency limits. And when the frequency rises, the limits expand. The ceiling lifts. The room gets bigger. Not because anything outside changed, but because the perceiver changed. And the perceiver determines the size of the room. On the other side of this threshold, you stop being managed by your circumstances and start being the author of them. This is not about control in the anxious sense, the white-knuckled attempt to force outcomes. It's about authorship in the creative sense, the understanding that the story you're living is a story you're writing, and that the frequency at which you write it determines what can appear in it. At the 1% frequency, you don't wait to see what life brings you. You understand, at a level that is felt rather than just intellectually grasped, that what life brings you is a function of what you're broadcasting, and you start broadcasting deliberately. On the other side of this threshold, other people who operate at the 1% frequency become visible to you, and you become visible to them. This is the resonance principle again. Like frequencies find each other. The people who are building things that matter, who are thinking thoughts that are real, who are living at the level of their actual potential rather than the level of their comfort, those people become accessible. Not because you go looking for them in a desperate or grasping way, because the frequency shift makes you visible to each other. You enter the same field. You begin to resonate, and the quality of the people around you changes, because the frequency you're broadcasting changes what you attract. On the other side of this threshold, the relationship between your inner state and your outer circumstances becomes transparent. You can see it. You can trace the line between what you're holding internally, what frequency you're operating at, what beliefs are running in the background, what stories you're telling yourself about what is real and possible, and what is showing up in your external experience. And this transparency is not comfortable at first, because it means you can no longer pretend that your circumstances are happening to you from outdated. You can see that they are arising from you, from your frequency, from your state, and that means the responsibility is yours, which is terrifying, and also the most liberating thing you will ever experience. On the other side of this threshold, time works differently, not literally. The clock still runs at 60 seconds a minute, but your relationship to time changes. At the 99% frequency, most people live in what we might call temporal anxiety, caught between the regret of the past and the fear of the future, spending very little actual time in the present moment where all real power exists. On the other side of the threshold, the present moment becomes more real, more dense, more actual. You stop leaking energy backward into what was and forward into what might be, and you start concentrating it here, now, in the only moment where anything can actually be created or changed or chosen. On the other side of this threshold, synchronicity becomes ordinary. This is one of the things that people who have crossed report most consistently, that the experience of meaningful coincidence, of the right thing appearing at the right moment, of the sense that the universe is organized and responsive rather than random and indifferent. That experience becomes normal. Not miraculous, normal. Because you understand the mechanism. You understand that synchronicity is not magic. It is resonance. It is the quantum coherence between your frequency and the field of what is possible. When the frequency rises, the coherence increases. And when coherence increases, the right things appear. Not because the universe is playing favorites, because the receiver is tuned. This is what is on the other side of the gate. And the gate is open, right now. This is the crossing point. If you can feel yourself standing between the frequency you've been performing and the one you're actually broadcasting, that gap, that electric in-between, there is a complete guide written for exactly this moment. The sealed timeline maps the full crossing from diagnosis through phase transition to sealed coherence, so the new state doesn't just open, but locks. You'll find it in the description below. Let me talk about why now, because this is important. The question of timing, of why this threshold is appearing in this moment of your life, is not random. The gate doesn't open randomly. It opens when the conditions are right. And the conditions being right means something specific about where you are in your evolution. There is a concept in developmental psychology called the readiness principle. The idea that learning, real learning, the kind that actually changes the structure of how you think and perceive, only happens when the learner is developmentally ready for it. You can expose a child to calculus at age 4, and nothing will stick. Not because the child is incapable of eventually understanding calculus, but because the cognitive structures that make calculus comprehensible haven't developed yet. The readiness has to be there. And when the readiness is there, when the structures are in place, the learning doesn't just happen, it happens rapidly. It integrates. It reorganizes everything. Your consciousness has been building toward this threshold for years, maybe for your entire life. Every experience that stretched you, every moment that cracked something open, every loss that dismantled something that needed to be dismantled. Every joy that showed you what was actually possible. Every question that you couldn't answer with the framework you had. Every restless night when something in you knew there was more than what you were accessing. All of it was preparation, was the building of the structures that make this crossing possible. And now you're ready. The gate is open because you're ready. Not because it's a particular date on a calendar, not because of cosmic timing in some abstract sense, Because you, specifically you, in your specific evolution, have reached the threshold of readiness. The structures are in place. The frequency has built to the matching point. And the gate, which has always been there, has become visible to you because you can now see it, because your frequency can now perceive it. There is also something happening collectively that is relevant here. We are living in a period of accelerated frequency, a time when the conditions that allow for threshold crossings are more available than they have been at any previous point in recorded human history. The density of information, the collapse of geographic and cultural barriers, the acceleration of technology, the global connectivity. All of these are creating conditions where frequency can build faster, where the readiness threshold can be reached more quickly, where the gate can become visible to more people in a shorter period of time. This is not coincidental. This is phase transition at a collective level. Humanity itself is approaching a threshold, and the people who cross individually, who spike into the 1% frequency, are the leading edge of that collective crossing. They are the ones who demonstrate what is possible, who hold the frequency of the other side so that others can find their way to it, who are, in a very real sense, the scouts crossing the gate first, so that the path becomes clearer for those who follow. You are one of those scouts. The fact that you found this transmission, that your frequency spiked to the point where this became visible, where this resonated, where this landed, that is not just about your individual evolution. It is about your role in the collective one. The 1% who cross the threshold don't just transform their own lives. They raise the frequency of the field. They make the gate more visible. They make the crossing more possible for everyone around them. This is the weight of the exception. This is what it means to be the 1%. And it is why the gate being open right now matters so much. Not just for you, for everyone whose frequency will eventually match yours. For everyone who will look at your life, at what you built after the crossing, at who you became after the threshold, and find the courage to cross their own gate. The gate is open. Now. This is the moment. Where are you in this right now? Are you circling the gate, feeling the pull but not yet crossing? Or did something in this transmission move you through something? Tell me in the comments. I read them. And the field of people who respond to that question is itself a threshold community. People finding each other at the edge of the same crossing. I want to give you a practice now. A crossing practice. Something you can do, not just intellectually engage with, but actually do, that will help you complete the threshold crossing that this transmission is initiating. Because understanding the gate is not the same as walking through it. And I don't want you to leave this with a beautiful intellectual framework that sits in your mind as an interesting idea. I want you to leave this having actually moved, having actually crossed something, even if that crossing is internal. Even if it begins with a single step that only you can see. Find a place where you can be still for a few minutes. If you're moving, if you're driving, if you're doing something that requires your attention, hold this for later and come back to it when you can be still. Because what I'm about to walk you through requires your full presence. It requires you to actually be at the gate, not just thinking about it. Close your eyes if that's safe and comfortable. And take 3 breaths that are deeper than your normal breathing. Not forced, just intentional, just a little more full than what you usually take. And as you breathe, I want you to feel the place in your chest, or your gut, or wherever in your body you feel things before you know them in your mind, where the frequency lives, the place where you feel the pull, the place where something has been restless, the place where the gate has been making itself known. You know the place. You felt it. Maybe you've been trying not to feel it, because feeling it means you have to do something about it. But feel it now. Feel the edge of it. Feel the heat of it. Feel the way it pulls toward something you can't quite see, but can absolutely feel. That pull is the gate. That is the threshold. That is the frequency on the other side calling to the frequency that is building in you, creating resonance, creating the quantum coherence that makes the crossing possible. Now, I want you to do something that might feel strange. I want you to turn toward it. Not away, toward. Most of the time, when we feel the pull of the gate, the restlessness, the hunger, the sense of something larger waiting, we turn away from it. Because it's uncomfortable. Because it asks something of us. Because the ego interprets the dissolution of the current form as danger. But right now, in this moment, I want you to turn toward it, to face the gate directly, to let yourself feel the full weight of what is on the other side. And as you face it, I want you to ask yourself one question. Not with your mind, with the place in your body where you feel truth before you can articulate it. The question is this: what version of me has to end for the next version of me to begin? Sit with that. Don't rush to answer it. Don't let your mind construct a clever response. Let the answer come from the place where the gate is. Let it come from the frequency, and when it comes, and it will come, because you are at the threshold, and the threshold knows you. Let it land without fighting it. Let it be true, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it asks something difficult, even if it means something you've been holding on to has to be released. The thing that has to end is not you. I want to be very clear about this. The thing that has to end is a version, a configuration, a specific pattern of beliefs and habits and self-concepts that served you in getting to the gate but cannot cross with you. The gate is a precise width, and what can fit through it is the essential you, the frequency you, the real you, not the constructed version that has accumulated around that essential self over years of adaptation and performance and protection. What you're releasing at the gate is the weight that has been slowing the frequency, the beliefs that cap it, the self-concepts that constrain it, the stories that keep you in the 99% reality when you are built for the 1%. Feel what it would feel like to put that weight down, not to lose it, to put it down, deliberately, as a choice, as the act of crossing. And now, in whatever way feels true in your body, take a step, not a physical step necessarily, an internal one, a step that says, I am crossing. I am not waiting for more certainty. I am not waiting for the fear to go away. I am not waiting until I feel ready in the way the ego defines ready. I am crossing because the gate is open, and I can feel what is on the other side, and the version of me that belongs there is already reaching back through the gate toward the version of me that is still standing at the edge. That step, that internal movement, is the beginning of the crossing. And once it begins, it completes. That is the nature of phase transitions. Once the system crosses the threshold, it reorganizes. It doesn't go back. The old state doesn't restore itself. The new state is the state, and you are in it. Take a breath and open your eyes. You just crossed something. Now, let me tell you what changes. Because the crossing is not the end, it's the beginning. The gate is not the destination. It's the passage. And what happens after the crossing is what this is all for. The first thing that changes after you cross the threshold is your relationship to fear. Not that fear disappears. It doesn't. And anyone who tells you that the 1% frequency is a state of fearlessness is misrepresenting what the crossing actually produces. Fear is a biological signal. It will continue to fire. What changes is your relationship to it. At the 99% frequency, fear is a stop sign. It is a wall. It is a reason not to move. At the 1% frequency, fear becomes a compass. It points toward the gate. It marks the location of the next threshold, because the things that frighten you, the things that make the ego contract, that make the constructed self feel threatened, those are precisely the things that are on the other side of the next crossing. Fear stops being the reason to stay and starts being the map to where you need to go. The second thing that changes is your relationship to failure. At the 99% frequency, failure is evidence that you were wrong to try. It is a verdict. It is the universe telling you that you overreached, that you should have stayed where it was safe, that the gate was not for you. At the 1% frequency, failure is data. It is feedback from the field about the frequency you were operating at when you made that attempt. It tells you where the adjustment needs to happen, not whether you should be attempting at all. The crossing doesn't protect you from failure. It changes what failure means. And when failure means data rather than verdict, you stop being managed by the possibility of it. The third thing that changes is your relationship to other people's opinions. This one is subtle and important. At the 99% frequency, other people's opinions about you are a significant source of data about your own value, about whether you're on the right track, about whether what you're doing makes sense. This is not weakness. It's the natural result of operating in the consensus reality, where the consensus is the primary reference point. When you cross the threshold, the primary reference point shifts. It moves from external, from what the consensus thinks, from what the people around you validate, to internal, to the frequency, to what resonates with the actual signal of who you are, rather than with the noise of what others expect you to be. This doesn't mean you stop caring about people. It means you stop letting their frequency determine yours. The fourth thing that changes is your relationship to time and urgency. I mentioned earlier that time works differently on the other side of the threshold. But I want to be more specific about what that means practically. At the 99% frequency, most people operate under a scarcity of time, the sense that there is never enough of it, that they are always behind, that the clock is working against them. This creates a particular kind of action, reactive, anxious, driven by the fear of not doing enough rather than by the clarity of what actually matters. At the 1% frequency, the relationship to time reorganizes. Not because you have more of it, you don't, but because the clarity about what matters increases so dramatically that the noise of what doesn't matter falls away. And when the noise falls away, the signal becomes clear. And when the signal is clear, action becomes precise rather than frantic. You do less, but what you do lands more completely. You move differently, not slower, more accurately. The fifth thing that changes, and this is the one that surprises people most, is your relationship to uncertainty. The 99% frequency is fundamentally oriented toward certainty, toward knowing what is going to happen, toward having a plan that guarantees the outcome, toward eliminating the unknown before taking the step. And this orientation toward certainty is one of the primary mechanisms that keeps people at the gate rather than crossing it. Because the gate, by definition, opens onto something you haven't experienced yet. Something you can't fully know in advance. Something that requires you to cross before you can see where you're going. The 1% frequency is not comfortable with uncertainty in the sense of liking it, but it is capable of moving through it, of crossing the gate without waiting for certainty that will never come before the crossing, of understanding that certainty is a product of crossing, not a prerequisite for it. You don't become certain and then cross. You cross and then become certain. The sequence matters. Let me talk about something that people rarely discuss honestly when they talk about the 1% frequency, about threshold crossings, about the gate. And that is the cost of crossing. There is a cost. I would be doing you a disservice if I described the other side of the gate as only gain, only expansion, only opening. The crossing is also a loss, and the loss is real, and it deserves to be named. When you cross the threshold, when you spike into the 1% frequency and stay there, some things that were part of your life will no longer fit. Some relationships will not survive the frequency differential. Not because the people in them are bad, not because you are better than them, but because frequency determines resonance. And when your frequency changes significantly, some of the connections that were built at the old frequency will begin to feel strained, will begin to feel like you're translating between two languages that are increasingly divergent. And some of those connections will end, not dramatically necessarily, but they will end, or they will transform into something different, something that fits the new frequency. But the form they had before the crossing will not survive. Some of the goals you had before the crossing will also not survive. Not because they were wrong to have, they were right for who you were. But the version of you that emerges from the crossing will have different goals, will want different things, will be oriented toward a different kind of life. And the goals that belonged to the old version, the ones that the ego constructed to feel safe, to feel successful, to feel validated by the consensus, those goals will feel hollow on the other side. And releasing them, even when they were goals you worked hard for, even when they were goals that people around you admired, releasing them is part of the cost. The comfort of the known is also lost. This is perhaps the most persistent cost. On the other side of the threshold, the known, the familiar, the predictable, the safe, is smaller than it was before, because you've expanded, because your frequency range is wider, because what is known to you now includes things that were previously invisible, and the expansion of the known is wonderful, but it also means that the old comfort, the comfort of fitting inside a container that matched your previous size, is gone. You can't go back into the small room, not because the room is locked, because you don't fit anymore, and the largeness of the new space, while ultimately exhilarating, can feel lonely at first, can feel exposed, can feel like more space than you know what to do with. I'm telling you this not to discourage you. I'm telling you this because the people who cross the gate and then feel the cost and interpret the cost as evidence that they made a mistake. Those people sometimes try to go back, and you cannot go back. The phase transition is irreversible. The old state doesn't restore, and trying to force yourself back into the old frequency, trying to shrink back into the old container, is one of the most painful things a human being can do to themselves. It is fighting the physics of your own evolution. The cost is real, and it is worth it. Both of those things are true simultaneously. The loss of what didn't fit is the making of space for what does. The ending of relationships that couldn't survive the frequency differential is the opening of space for relationships that resonate at the new frequency. Relationships that are more real, more nourishing, more aligned with who you actually are. The hollow feeling of old goals falling away is the clearing of space for goals that actually matter to the version of you that crossed the gate. The loss of the small comfort is the gaining of the large life. But you have to be willing to hold both truths at once. The cost and the gain, the ending and the beginning, the death of the old version and the birth of the new one. That capacity to hold paradox, to sit with both sides of the threshold simultaneously, is itself a marker of the 1% frequency. It is one of the things that becomes possible on the other side of the gate. Let me tell you about a woman named Sarah. Sarah had crossed a threshold once before, years earlier, in a way that she hadn't fully understood at the time. She'd left a life that looked successful from the outside, a career that paid well, a relationship that was stable, a city that everyone agreed was the right city to be in, and she'd followed something she couldn't name. A frequency, a pull, a sense that there was a gate somewhere in the direction she was looking, and that if she didn't cross it, she would spend the rest of her life standing at its edge, wondering. She crossed it, and it cost her everything she'd described: the career, the relationship, the city, the identity she'd built around being the person who had it all figured out. And it gave her everything she couldn't have imagined from the other side. A life that fit, work that mattered, a sense of being in the right frequency, in the right field, building toward the right thing. But now, years later, she was standing at another gate. Because this is the thing about threshold crossings that people don't always anticipate. They are not singular. You don't cross the gate once and arrive in a permanent state of 1% frequency where nothing further is required. The 1% frequency is not a destination. It is a level. And at every level, there is another gate, another threshold, another crossing point where the current version has to end for the next version to begin. Sarah's second gate was harder than the first, not because the crossing was more dramatic, but because she knew what it cost. She had done it before. She knew the price, and knowing the price made the hesitation more sophisticated, more intelligent, more dressed up in reasonable-sounding arguments for waiting a little longer, for being a little more certain, for gathering a little more evidence before making the crossing. She circled her second gate for 2 years. 2 years of feeling the pull. 2 years of knowing she was at the threshold. 2 years of the restlessness, the hunger, the sense of being between 2 versions of herself. And 2 years of constructing increasingly elaborate reasons to wait. What finally moved her through was not a new argument. It was not a new piece of evidence. It was not finally achieving the certainty that she'd been waiting for. What moved her through was the recognition that the 2 years of waiting had cost her more than the crossing ever would. That the energy spent circling the gate, maintaining the tension of knowing you need to cross but not crossing, was draining her more than the crossing itself would. That the fear of the cost was costing her more than the cost. She crossed on a morning when nothing was different except that she was done waiting. And on the other side, the same thing that had always been on the other side. A larger life, a truer frequency, a version of herself that had been in superposition for 2 years, holding all its potential, waiting for the collapse. The gate had been open the whole time. This is what I want you to take from Sarah's story. Not that the crossing is easy. It isn't. Not that the cost isn't real. It is. But that the cost of not crossing is also real. That the energy of standing at the gate and not going through it, of maintaining the superposition, of holding the tension of the threshold without completing the crossing, that energy has a price. That price is paid in the currency of your actual life. In days and months and years of living at a frequency that you've already outgrown. In the slow, persistent misery of a room with a ceiling that is too low. In the dreams that get quieter because you keep not following them. In the version of yourself that is waiting on the other side of the gate, getting further away, not because the gate closed, but because you stopped moving toward it. The gate is open. The version of you that belongs on the other side is waiting. And the cost of crossing, real as it is less than the cost of not crossing. Now, I want to talk about the mechanics of staying at the 1% frequency after you cross. Because the crossing is the beginning, not the end. And there are specific practices, specific habits of consciousness that maintain the frequency, that keep the receiver tuned, that prevent the drift back toward the consensus reality that will happen if you're not deliberate about it. The first practice is what I call frequency auditing, the regular, honest examination of what you are consuming and what you are producing in terms of information, in terms of energy, in terms of the conversations you're having and the environments you're spending time in, and asking with precision, is this raising my frequency or lowering it? Is this aligned with the 1% reality I'm building? Or is it pulling me back toward the 99% consensus? This is not about being rigid or isolated, or cutting off everything that isn't perfectly aligned. It is about being conscious, about knowing what is going into the receiver and what effect it is having on the signal. The second practice is what I call threshold journaling. The practice of writing every day, or as close to every day as you can manage, from the perspective of the version of you that has already crossed the next gate, not the version that is hoping to cross, not the version that is planning to cross, the version that has crossed. Writing from that frequency, describing the life that version is living, the thoughts that version is thinking, the choices that version is making. This is not fantasy. It is frequency calibration. It is tuning the receiver to the signal of the next level before you've arrived there, so that when the gate opens, you recognize it, so that you're already broadcasting at the frequency that matches what's on the other side. The third practice is deliberate exposure to 1% frequency people. This means actively seeking out, through books, through conversations, through communities, through whatever channels are available to you, people who are operating at the frequency you're building toward. Not to imitate them, not to compare yourself to them in a way that diminishes you, but to let their frequency affect yours, because frequency is contagious. Resonance is real. Spending time in the field of someone who has crossed the gate you're approaching raises your own frequency. It makes the gate more visible. It makes the crossing more possible. The fourth practice is what I call the daily crossing. The practice of doing every single day at least one thing that the old version of you, the 99% version, would not have done. One thing that requires crossing a small internal threshold. One thing that the ego resists. One thing that the comfort-seeking, certainty-requiring, consensus-dependent part of you says is too much, too soon, too risky. Not recklessly, not self-destructively, but deliberately. Because the crossing muscle, the capacity to move through gates rather than standing at their edges, is a muscle. It is built through use, and the daily crossing practice keeps it strong, keeps it ready, keeps you in the habit of moving through thresholds rather than accumulating them. The fifth practice is silence. Deliberate, regular, protected silence. Not the passive silence of having nothing to do, but the active silence of creating space for the frequency to be heard. The 1% reality, the signal that is always broadcasting, the gate that is always there, is not loud. It is precise. It speaks in frequencies that are easily drowned out by the noise of the 99% world, by the constant input, the constant stimulation, the constant demand for attention that characterizes the consensus reality. Silence is where the frequency becomes audible, where the gate becomes visible, where the next threshold reveals itself. The practice of regular silence is not optional for people who are serious about staying at the 1% frequency. It is structural. It is the maintenance of the receiver. I want to speak now to the part of you that is still not sure. The part that has been listening to this transmission and feeling something real, feeling the pull, feeling the gate, feeling the frequency spike that brought you here, but that is also holding a question, a doubt, a voice that says, what if this isn't real? What if this is just a feeling? What if I cross the gate and there's nothing on the other side, and I've given up the certainty of what I had for the uncertainty of what I hoped was there? That voice is not your enemy. That voice is the ego doing its job. The ego's job is to maintain the current form, to protect the current configuration, to resist the phase transition, because phase transitions feel like death to the constructed self. The ego is not wrong to resist. It is doing exactly what it is designed to do. But you are not your ego. You are the consciousness that contains the ego. And the consciousness, the actual you, the frequency you, the one that has been building toward this threshold for years, that consciousness knows as. It knows the gate is real. It knows what is on the other side. It knows the crossing is necessary. It has always known. The question is whether you let the ego's voice be louder than the frequency's signal. The doubt is not evidence that the gate isn't there. The doubt is evidence that you're standing at the edge of something real, because you only doubt the things that matter. You don't doubt what is safe and comfortable and already known. You doubt the things that are at the threshold of your current understanding. The things that are just beyond the edge of your current frequency range. The things that require crossing to know. The doubt is the gate making itself known. And here is what I know about you. What I can say with precision based on the fact that you are here, that you found this, that your frequency spiked enough to make this visible and real and resonant. You are not someone who crosses nothing. You have crossed gates before. You have stood at thresholds and moved through them, even when it was hard, even when it cost something, even when the ego said, wait. You have a crossing history. You have evidence in your own life that the other side of the gate is real. That the version of you that emerges from the crossing is more real, more true, more alive than the version that stood at the edge. You have done this before, and you can do it again. You are doing it right now. The frequency spike that brought you here, that is the gate opening. The resonance you feel with this transmission, that is the matching of your frequency to what's on the other side. The restlessness, the hunger, the sense of being between two versions of yourself. That is the superposition resolving. That is the wave function collapsing. That is the phase transition beginning. You are in the crossing right now, not after you finish this transmission, not after you decide you're ready. not after you gather more evidence or more certainty or more permission. Now, in this moment, in this breath, in the fact that you are here and the gate is open and something in you said yes to this when it could have said no. Let me talk about the community of threshold crossers, because you are not doing this alone. That is something that needs to be said clearly and held clearly, because one of the disorienting effects of the frequency spike is the sense of isolation, the sense that you have moved into a frequency that the people around you can't quite reach, that the conversations you want to have are not available in your immediate environment, that the version of yourself that is emerging from the crossing is not yet fully seen or understood by the people who knew the old version. That isolation is real, and it is temporary, because as your frequency stabilizes at the 1% level, as the crossing completes and the new state becomes the state, the resonance principle begins to work in your favor. The people who operate at this frequency begin to find you. The community that is built at the level of the actual you, not the performed version, not the consensus-compatible version, begins to form. Not because you went looking for it desperately, because the frequency drew it. And that community, the community of people who have crossed their own thresholds, who are operating at the 1% frequency, who are building lives that match their actual capacity rather than their comfort level. That community is one of the most profound things available on the other side of the gate. Because in that community, you don't have to translate. You don't have to make yourself smaller to fit. You don't have to explain the frequency, because everyone in it is already operating there. You can speak at the level of your actual understanding and be met there. You can bring the full version of yourself and have it recognized. This is available to you. It is on the other side of the gate, and the gate is open. I want to speak to something that has been underneath this entire transmission, something that has been present in every section, in every concept, in every story, but that I want to name directly now, because naming it directly is part of the crossing. The reason you are the exception is not because you are special in the sense of being better than other people. It is because you have said yes to something that most people say no to. The capacity is universal. The gate is available to everyone. The frequency can be reached by any human consciousness that is willing to do the work of reaching it. What makes you the exception is not your inherent superiority. It is your willingness. Your willingness to feel the pull and move toward it rather than away from it. Your willingness to face the gate rather than avoid it. Your willingness to let the old version end so the new version can begin. Your willingness to cross. Most people will not cross their gate, not because they can't, because they won't. Because the ego's voice is louder than the frequency's signal. Because the comfort of the known is more immediate than the promise of the unknown, because the cost of crossing feels more certain than the gain. And so they stand at the gate, sometimes for years, sometimes for a lifetime, feeling the pull, feeling the restlessness, feeling the sense of something larger waiting on the other side. And they don't cross. You are crossing. That is what makes you the exception. That is what puts you in the 1%. Not talent, not luck, not some cosmic designation that placed you above others. The choice, the willingness, the yes. And the yes is available to everyone, but not everyone says it. You said it. When you found this transmission, when you stayed with it, when you did the crossing practice, when you felt the gate and moved toward it rather than away, you said yes, and the yes is the crossing. The yes is the gate opening. The yes is the phase transition beginning. There is no going back from yes. Let me close this transmission by describing what the days immediately after the crossing look like. Because the crossing is not the end of the work. It is the beginning of a new kind of work. And knowing what to expect makes the navigation cleaner. The days immediately after a threshold crossing are often characterized by a strange combination of clarity and disorientation. The clarity is the new frequency, the expanded perception, the larger reality, the sense of things making sense in a way they didn't before. The disorientation is the adjustment, the cognitive and emotional process of integrating the new state, of reorganizing the internal structures to match the new frequency, of beginning to act from the new level rather than the old one. This disorientation is not a sign that something went wrong. It is a sign that something went right. It is the system reorganizing. It is the phase transition completing. It is the new state stabilizing. During this period, be gentle with yourself, not in the sense of backing away from the crossing. You can't, and you wouldn't want to, but in the sense of giving the integration time to happen, of not demanding that the new frequency produce immediate external results, of understanding that the internal shift precedes the external manifestation, always, and that the gap between the crossing and the visible change in circumstances is not evidence that the crossing didn't work. It is the natural lag between the shift in the observer and the shift in what the observer observes. During this period, protect the frequency. The new state is more stable than it feels in the first days after the crossing, but it is also more sensitive to interference. The consensus reality, the 99% frequency field that surrounds you, will exert a pull toward the old state, not maliciously, just gravitationally, the way any system tends toward its lowest energy state. The practices I described earlier, the frequency auditing, the threshold journaling, the deliberate exposure to 1% frequency people, the daily crossing, the silence. These are especially important in the period immediately after the threshold crossing. They are the stabilizers, the anchors, the practices that keep the new frequency from drifting back toward the old. During this period, notice what becomes visible that wasn't visible before. This is the most exciting part of the post-crossing period, because the frequency shift is real, and its effects are real, and the effects show up in the form of things becoming visible that were previously invisible. Opportunities that suddenly appear. People who show up that seem to be exactly what the new frequency requires. Ideas that land with a completeness and clarity that ideas didn't have before. Synchronicities that feel impossible but keep happening. These are not coincidences. They are resonance. They are the field responding to the new frequency. They are evidence that the crossing happened and that the new state is real. And during this period, begin to build from the new frequency. Not frantically, not in the anxious, reactive way of the old frequency, but deliberately. Begin to make choices from the new state. Begin to take actions that are aligned with the version of you that crossed the gate rather than the version that stood at its edge. Begin to let the new frequency determine what you do and how you do it, and what you're building toward. Because the crossing is not complete until the life begins to match the frequency, until the external begins to reflect the internal, until what you're building in the world is built from the 1% reality rather than the 99% one. This is the work on the other side of the gate, and it is the most important work you will ever do. You are standing at the threshold right now, not metaphorically, actually. Something in your consciousness has reached a point where going back to who you were is no longer possible, and going forward requires stepping through something you can't fully see yet, but you can feel it. You have always been able to feel it. That is the frequency. That is the gate making itself known. That is the version of you on the other side, reaching back through the threshold, saying, "Come. This is real. This is where you belong. This is who you actually are." The gate is open. You found this transmission because your frequency matched it, because you are ready, because the superposition has been holding long enough, and the conditions for the phase transition are exactly right, because the 1% frequency has been building in you, through everything you've experienced, everything you've lost, everything you've reached for, everything you've questioned, and it has reached the threshold. You are the exception, not because you were chosen, because you chose, because you said yes to the pull when you could have ignored it, because you faced the gate when you could have looked away, because you are here, at this threshold, in this moment, ready to cross. One version of you entered this transmission. A different version is leaving it. The crossing has already begun. You don't need permission to complete it. You don't need more certainty. You don't need the fear to go away. You don't need the old version's approval. You just need to keep moving in the direction the frequency is pointing. Keep moving. The gate is open. And on the other side that is already yours, that has always been yours, that was waiting for the frequency to match. On the other side is the life that fits. The version that is real. The consciousness that is fully itself. The 1% reality where everything you are actually capable of becomes accessible. If this transmission found you at a moment of stillness, return to it there, in the quiet, at the edge of a decision, when the gate is making itself known again. And if someone in your life is circling their own threshold right now, send this to them, not as advice, as a bridge. When two people recognize the same gate, the field between them strengthens, and the crossing becomes more possible for both. That is resonance working exactly as it should. You are crossing. There is no going back, and there is nothing on the other side to fear. Only everything you were always meant to be. The gate is open. Step through.